opportunity he was looking for when innovative comic Paul Reubens gave him a call. Reubens had become a household name thanks to his popular TV character, Pee Wee Herman. He was now planning to bring Pee Wee to the big screen and was ready to give inexperienced Tim Burton his feature film debut.
We screened Frankenweenie, and 2 minutes, maybe not even that long into the film, I knew that was the guy. I just knew he was the director.
Pee Wee's big adventure followed the oddball leading man on his cross-country quest to recover his stolen bicycle. Although Reubens was the undisputed star of the show, Burton managed to inject a bit of his own quirky style.
Thanks for stopping.
In dense fog, just like this, I saw the worst accident I ever seen. It looked like this.
My friends kept coming to visit the set and going, "Where's the director?" And I'd point him out and they go, "No, come on, where's the director?" Because he was 26 and looked younger than that.
Burton also kept the fun going by hiring his favorite musician, Danny Elfman. The lead singer of the new wave band Oingo Boingo had never scored a feature film before.
We were both babes in the woods, so to speak, because I didn't quite know how to begin and he didn't know how to tell me to begin. It was more like goofing around than anything else.
Pee Wee's Big Adventure was released on July 19, 1985. Although critical response to the film was very mixed, business was good at the box office. 26-year-old Tim Burton had a surprise hit on his hands. The fledgling director was now inundated with scripts and set up an office with friend Rick Heinrichs. But Tim turned down every offer, frustrated that most of them were copycat versions of Pee Wee.
Tim's not exactly a director for hire. He is somebody who has to bring his vision with him, and it has to work in collaboration and in complement with the material that they've already got.
Tim spent the next 2 years without feature film work, living a frugal bachelor's life and pouring through material until he finally found what he was looking for. It was a black comedy about the afterlife that no one else wanted to make and no actors wanted to star in.
He was casting Beetlejuice, and I turned it down.
I definitely liked this guy. That was the thing. But I couldn't really understand what he was talking about.
I don't think Tim hired anybody who didn't turn it down first.
I met him again, and that's about where I decided to do it.
I liked him so much that I thought, okay.
Tim convinced Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis to play ghosts trying to exorcise the new occupants of their house with the help of a manic spook played by Michael Keaton in the comedy entitled
Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
Thank you. Woo!
That is why I won't do 2 shows a night anymore, babe. I won't do them. Well, what do we got here tonight, kids? Yeah. Mom, Dad. I just want you two to know you're welcome in our house anytime you want to come over.
I kind of showed up with all my ammunition. And also, you know, risking him saying, that's not at all what I had in mind.
Test your strength.
But he didn't. He just hooked in. It's very exciting to be part of something that is original and really artistic and creative. Happens less than you would imagine.
Tim lavished care on the film's surreal atmosphere and used old-fashioned special effects that evoked the monster movies of his childhood. Beetlejuice premiered on the eve of April Fool's Day, 1988. Both Burton and the studio hoped for a modest hit, but what they got was a surprising blockbuster that made over $10 million in its first 5 days. With 2 hit films under his belt, Burton was stunned to realize he was the industry's newest hot property. But Tim was uncomfortable in the glare of the spotlight and retreated further behind the public persona he had created to handle his newfound fame.
I saw him in an interview in the middle of daytime in this interview wearing sunglasses.
Okay, Tim's becoming a character. This is a character he's created, Tim, the director, the Hollywood director.
The 29-year-old had become a bona fide player in Hollywood, but Tim Burton wondered if he could hold on to his unique vision in a town focused on the bottom line.
Bow your head! Planet of the Apes is far and away the most entertaining blockbuster this summer. Let's go. It's a super spectacle, loaded with visual effects.
We're in control now. We're the 800-pound gorilla.
This one is nothing but fun.
Can't we all just get along?
The New York Times says Tim Burton and his team plant their own flag on the new Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes.
Play dead.
Rated PG-13. Now playing only in theaters.
Love he, love she, love harmony, love destiny. I don't think you're ready for destiny. I don't think you're ready for destiny. I don't think you're ready for this. Love you, love me, come on, love destiny. I don't think you're ready for destiny. I don't think you're ready for destiny. I don't think you're ready for this. Love you, love me, come on, love destiny.
Who Am I? Presented by Aflac. I began my career as one of the youngest TV directors at Universal Studios. In 1993, I received an Oscar for Schindler's List. Who am I? Stay tuned for the answer.
You know, I don't want what happened to Sue to happen to me. You mean when she got hurt? I mean after. No supplemental insurance. No what?
Aflac.
It covers the stuff regular insurance doesn't, like lost pay and other expenses.
What does? And what can I get you, sir?
Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Aflac.
From Jaws to E.T., Indiana Jones, and Jurassic Park, I kindled the imagination of a generation of moviegoers. Who am I? Steven Spielberg.
Brought to you by Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Tear yourself away from the computer and take a good look at where it's gotten us. Next, The Future Just Happened. Monday at 9, 8 Central on A&E.
A&E's look at Tim Burton continues on Biography.
In 1987, Hollywood's highest-profile project was Warner Brothers' Batman. The studio envisioned a somber new look at the classic superhero. Tim Burton, the 30-year-old wunderkind with a dark and inventive imagination, seemed the perfect choice to helm the $45 million film.
When I found out Tim was going to be directing Batman, I was like, wow, Tim has made it. Whoa. I was so excited for him. I also knew we were all in for a treat.
Excitement grew as Tim cast Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. But when Tim signed on comedy star Michael Keaton for the title role, the studio was deluged with over 50,000 letters from angry fans who thought Burton was planning nothing more than a big-budget version of the campy 1966 television show. Burton found himself at the center of the controversy and secretly feared that he was in over his head.
He was under enormous stress. I would try to support him, and he would try to support me. It was really kind of like a couple of kids in a real big adult game.
It didn't help matters that Tim was also at odds with the film's producers, John Peters and Peter Guber, who he felt were trying to take over creative control of the project.
He had huge fights with the producer, John Peters. Initially, a lot of people got fooled by Tim because he was quieter, he wasn't screaming, he wasn't pressuring. They actually thought, well, he doesn't really know what he wants, so we'll just start doing what we want to do. And that was a mistake for them.
Batman was fun. Batman was hard, though. It was just so enormous and damp and cold in England, and, you know. And it was huge, and Tim Burton was overwhelmed because it was so big.
Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man! Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man!
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
As the tension-filled production wrapped and Batman buffs camped outside movie theaters to see the midnight premiere, Burton was worried his movie wouldn't live up to the hype. But Tim's fears were unfounded.
Hold on.
Batman opened on June 23, 1989, and became the first movie in history to take in $100 million in the first 10 days of its release. Hollywood's idiosyncratic outsider had become its newest hero. But the experience had also left the 31-year-old drained and depressed and looking for a source of emotional support.
It must be a little eerie to be hit this huge peak. You know, it's like, where do you go from here? But I think there was a little melancholy.
Tim had begun a whirlwind courtship with a young German artist named Lena Giesecke, who he had met in London. And on February 24th, the two were married. Burton set up house with his new bride and fended off Warner Brothers executives who pressured him to commit to a potentially lucrative Batman sequel.
I think whatever choices he made were not looking toward how I can become famous or how much money I can make. It was more about where can I really express my creative ideas.
In 1990, Burton signed on with 20th Century Fox to direct his most personal project to date, a film recalling his adolescent feelings of loneliness, Edward Scissorhands.
All right, let's try it again.
The director fought to cast TV teen heartthrob Johnny Depp as an orphan boy with scissors for hands, who was adopted by a normal family. Tim also hired Diane Wiest, Kathy Baker, and Winona Ryder to play residents of a slightly surreal, pastel suburban neighborhood.
That's Tim. That's how he viewed growing up in Burbank.
The idea is to make the link between real life and fairy tale a bit closer.
For the crucial role of Edward Scissorhands' inventor, Burton had only one choice, his childhood idol, Vincent Price.
I have a present for you.
My dad had Parkinson's disease, but he was still very weak and frail, but not ready to retire. And he liked Tim, who turned out to be the hottest young director in Hollywood. And it seemed like it was something that was written just for him, which is incredibly flattering.
Edward Scissorhands was released in time for Christmas, and the film earned glowing reviews. Burton was excited to continue his collaboration with the ailing Price and began work on a documentary, Conversations with Vincent. Tim's pet project would be the veteran film star's last on-camera appearance. Vincent Price died in 1993, a few days before Halloween. Burton put the documentary on hold, pressured by the studios to return to more lucrative work. Besieged by requests from Warner Brothers to direct a Batman sequel, Tim finally caved in. In Batman Returns, Michael Keaton reprised the title role and was supported by Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman and Danny DeVito as the Penguin. Batman Returns premiered on June 19, 1992, and like its predecessor, was a box office hit. But Burton was personally taken to task by parents and consumer groups who objected to the director's sinister and violent vision.
Well, on one hand, Tim has this dark image. And I think why this dark image appeals to masses is because Tim inherently knows entertainment. He himself is an entertaining guy.
After 5 years of transforming his unique vision into box office gold, the 33-year-old director seemed unstoppable. But Tim Burton was about to learn that no winning streak in Hollywood lasts forever.
Biography's look at Tim Burton will continue, but first, Biofeedback asks, what is your all-time favorite cult film? Visit biography.com and tell us what you think.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
Should have used Preparation H.
New Preparation H medicated wipes with aloe, the easy way to cleanse, cool, and soothe. Easier because they're 4 times bigger than Tux pads. New Preparation H medicated wipes. Big relief.
On the wings of a legend, he senses your arrival. Pegasus.
Once bugs get into your home, there's only one way to get them out. Call the man, the Orkin Man, at 1-800-800-ORKAN.
Rain, stop. Traffic, you. CD, play. Climate control, on.
The Infinity Q45 with voice-activated controls.
Lights, green.
The rest of the world should be so accommodating. The new Q from Infinity.
If this is what you sometimes call breakfast, remember one thing. You are what you eat. So next time, try something good. Nutri-Grain. With whole grain oats, real fruit, and calcium. Nutri-Grain. Respect yourself in the morning.
What if an internet provider asked you to draw from your imagination to envision taking your internet experience from everyday to extraordinary? You'd create AT&T WorldNet Service Plus. First, you'd start with the fastest logons and better connections. Then you'd add all the latest features, like instant messaging and chat for real-time communication. Not to mention cutting-edge tools like video email, so people can see and hear you every time you send a message. And you'd want live customer support. Now you can get it all from the provider-rated Best ISP by PC World. Call now for AT&T WorldNet Service Plus at just $16.95 a month. That's nearly 30% less than the leading ISP. So call 1-800-WorldNet today and switch to the internet plan that's drawing lots of attention.
Tomorrow on Biography.
Live fast, love hard, die young.
Outlaw composer, Hollywood insider. How this walking contradiction took a long, surprising journey back home. Chris Christopherson, as Biography goes 8th week, continues on Biography. Tomorrow on A&E.
Here's to letting the wind comb your hair once in a while. A little bit of freedom goes a long way. Crystal Light. Now the 5 fruit flavors you love are in a bottle. And just 5 calories. Available in your grocer's juice aisle.
You've seen them in public. Now get a look at what the stars hold most private, their homes.
Hey, come on in!
Join me, Suzanne Summer, as we're invited inside Hollywood's most personal spaces.
Celebrity Homes, Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m.
Only on E!
Thank you so much.
After you, yes.
Thanks. Wow. Imagine a regular guy like me getting special treatment from a bank.
You're a regular guy?
Yeah. Oh, dear.
A person's net worth should have nothing to do with their real worth. That's why at our brokerage company, WM Financial Services, financial consultants are available to everyone. Washington Mutual.
A&E's look at Tim Burton continues on Biography.
In 1992, 34-year-old Tim Burton had 2 Batman blockbusters to his credit. But he was even more interested in creating a holiday classic that resembled the animated stories of his own youth.
Every Christmas, you'd watch things like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or The Grinch That Stole Christmas. Those were my favorite my holiday specials when I was growing up. So when I was working at Disney, I designed something that's sort of like the reverse of that.
Burton had first proposed the story to Disney 10 years before, and they had turned down the offbeat idea. In 1992, however, the studio was delighted to add a Tim Burton film to their roster and proudly announced production on the modern musical The Nightmare Before Christmas. Although he had initially wanted to direct the project himself, Burton decided to take the role of producer, while friend Henry Selick directed and Danny Elfman composed and sang. Released in 1993, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas was a moderate financial success.
I am the one hiding under your bed, teeth ground sharp and eyes glowing red.
I am the one hiding under your stairs, fingers like snakes and spiders in my hair.
This is Halloween. Red and black.
And slimy green.
Aren't you scared? Well, that's just fine. Say it once, say it twice, take a chance and roll the dice. Ride with the moon in the dead of night.
Everybody scream! Everybody scream!
But once again, the press accused Tim of producing a children's film too frightening for kids. Burton was dumbfounded. He had only made the type of story he had loved as a child.
And what did Santa bring you, honey?
35-year-old Burton had been working non-stop for the past 7 years, and his grueling schedule had taken a toll on his 4-year marriage. Tim continued to pour all of his energy and devotion into his creations and often had little time left over for his wife.
Lena didn't understand why Tim couldn't pay more attention to her. I think that creating is really just like breathing for Tim, and that's what he does.
On March 26, 1993, after a year of separation, Tim and Lena filed for divorce. Tim spent most of his time concentrating on his newest projects, but was increasingly distracted by a young model he had met named Lisa Marie. Burton was struck by her unconventional beauty, and the two quickly discovered they had a lot in common.
I really see him as a curious, adventurous, loving man, and I don't really see him as this weird, strange, dark, quirky person that I think the media has made him out to be.
Tim and Lisa Marie became Hollywood's quirkiest couple and were seen everywhere together. Tim began avoiding business partners, collaborators, and even longtime friends, unable to communicate that his priorities had changed.
We had a blowout at the end of Nightmare Before Christmas. In a weird way, Tim is very much like a brother, but we're brothers in a dysfunctional family.
After a few months of self-imposed exile, Burton felt ready to come back to Hollywood. He was impatient to tell the story of a real movie maverick, Edward D. Wood, the cross-dressing director of such low-budget fare as Glenn or Glenda, Bride of the Monster, and Plan 9 from Outer Space. Columbia Studios agreed to finance Burton's project, but backed off when Tim refused to shoot Ed Wood in color.
I sort of knew him from when I was a kid watching Plan 9 from Outer Space. I've seen these people in black and white, and they're like icons. It's like seeing Bela Lugosi in color. Doesn't seem right.
Tim went home to Disney once again, where he could bring his vision to life in glorious black and white. Burton cast Johnny Depp as the irrepressible Ed Wood, leading a troupe of eccentrics played by Jeffrey Jones, Patricia Arquette, Sarah Jessica Parker, and as 50s TV host Vampira, Lisa Marie.
Action! And Johnny. And cut!
Tim persuaded Martin Landau to play the key role of horror great Bela Lugosi, who ended his career acting in Wood Productions.
You're watching our Halloween movie, White Zombie, starring Bela Lugosi, John Herron, Madge Bellamy, and a bunch of other people I've never heard of.
my spell. You will be my slave of law.
My gosh, Bella, how do you do that?
You must be double-jointed. And you must be young Aryan. Vampire, look at me.
The relationship between Edward and Lugosi touched Tim and was recognizable to Tim in his adulation and respect for Vincent Price.
Tim had more fun on the set of the small-scale production than he'd had in years.
I mean, there were times, literally, when I would hear laughter while we were doing something.
Okay, good.
Of course, it was Tim, who would ruin a take, but he was having such a good time.
And that's a wrap.
Ed Wood premiered in the fall of 1994. Critics lauded the film, and Landau went on to win an Oscar for his performance. But it was a different story at the box office. For the first time ever, a Tim Burton movie lost money. Tim was crushed. He feared he had lost his ability to communicate with audiences and had let investors down.
It's very important that when the studio gives you money, that what you produce returns their investment, because then you get to do something else later.
In 1996, Burton got behind the camera once again for a $70 million parody of 1950s science fiction films entitled Mars Attacks. But even with an all-star cast featuring Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, and Danny DeVito, the Warner Brothers production neither impressed critics nor captured audiences. At 38 years old, Burton was at a precarious point in his career. His early success had been overshadowed by recent financial failures. And Tim Burton knew that in Hollywood, you're only as good as your last film.
Next time, call an expert. Call Roto-Rooter, America's neighborhood plumber.
There's something of Ireland in all of us. The music, the poetry, the warmth of that Emerald Isle where my mother was born. I've been to Ireland many times, and the soft words of my mother's songs and the soft mists keep calling me back. Come with me to that green and happy land, open and free to all who seek the small things of the heart. There's never been a better time to visit. Come with me to Ireland. For information, call 1-800-SHAMROCK.
Today at IBM.com, we're here with our tech guy, George, to prove that the NetVista A40 is one incredibly secure, killer business computer.
Thanks, Leon. We designed the NetVista A40 to deliver small businesses a superior computing experience. It has an Intel Pentium 3 processor at 1 gigahertz, 128 megs of RAM, 20 gig hard drive, 3-year on-site limited warranty, $12.99.
That price can't be right.
It's right. It also has integrated security subsystems, numerous slots and bays to facilitate expansion, disk-to-disk recovery for repairs.
Yeah, I'm sorry, George. Mike, that's the right price?
It's right, Leon. It has backup and restore software to guard your data, rendering it quite possibly the ideal PC for your e-business.
Order the NetVista A40 with the Intel Pentium 3 processor for just $12.99, and we can ship it to you free.
You don't think that's a little low for this computer?
Did you read this? Did you read the script?
So touchy.
On the next investigative reports,
this guy was meant to be caught.
the 20-year manhunt is over.
Our faith has really been restored.
As France extradites an international fugitive, we look at the many faces of the unicorn, Ira Einhorn, on Investigative Reports, next on A&E.
It's time to stand up for the victims.
Now you can subscribe to Biography magazine for almost 50% off the newsstand price. 12 issues for only $19.97. Call 1-800-901-2233 to order Biography magazine.
If you hate cords tripping you up, you'll love the Conair Cord Keepers. Zip, zoom, and Conair solves the dangling cord problem. Cord Keepers, the ones to wind up with. Folding travel or convenient midsize from Conair.
In 1997, after 2 box office disappointments in a row, Tim Burton had no new film projects on the horizon. That year, the 38-year-old artist channeled his energy into writing and illustrating a very unusual children's book, The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories. Although Tim's strange little book was a success, Burton was anxious to prove he was still a bankable director and spent the following year looking for a script he could pin his hopes on. He found it in Sleepy Hollow, the ghoulish ghost story inspired by Washington Irving's literary classic. With his future in Hollywood riding on the movie's success, Tim surrounded himself with the familiar faces of Johnny Depp, Jeffrey Jones, and Martin Landau. Burton was gleefully back in his element and totally absorbed in his work.
One time in Sleepy Hollow, we were shooting in exteriors. The road was really, really muddy, and Tim was lining up a shot and completely, absolutely paying no attention to anything else. Suddenly he was stuck, and he was up over his knees. He was sinking into this quicksand. You know, it's almost up to his waist by the time they got him out. He hadn't noticed.
Premiering in November 1999, Sleepy Hollow was a critical and commercial hit. Although Burton's career was back on track, his good fortune was overshadowed by news from home. His father, Bill Burton, had been battling prostate cancer for years, and now his health was failing rapidly. Tim was devastated and did everything he could to help.
When his dad was sick, we sent him to a doctor, and he went to China and had treatments in China, and it was a hard time for Tim.
But on August 2nd, 2000, a grieving Tim lost his weakened father to a heart attack.
We were not the Cleaver family, but there has never been one time that something happened that he could help, that he wasn't there with no questions asked.
Now 42 years old and tempered by professional setbacks and personal loss, Burton realized that he needed to work harder at communicating with the people in his life.
Tim's expanded his view of the world and his interaction with the world. I think that Lisa Marie has been incredibly helpful to Tim to ground him in a kind of reality where he can send a Christmas card, where he can do some of those smaller, mundane things that make people human.
That year, the confident director settled on his next project, a reimagining of 20th Century Fox's science fiction masterpiece, Planet of the Apes. Tim cast Mark Wahlberg as a stranded astronaut and turned award-winning actors Helena Bonham Carter, Michael Clark Duncan, and Tim Roth into apes. The cast spent grueling hours transforming themselves into believable simians and even attended an on-set ape school. Burton had a ball creating the violent and exotic civilization from scratch.
When the apes are going off to march on their hunt and they've got this great army, I got excited and said, this is really Tim, this is great.
It's like a good myth or fairy tale. There's something about the material of Planet of the Apes which is very strong. I just got very intrigued by it, and the idea of sort of reimagining this mythology was very exciting to me.
You'll be telling us these beasts have a soul.
Is there a soul in there? It's disgusting the way we treat humans.
Entrusted with the biggest budget in 20th Century Fox history, Tim faced his most formidable challenge since Batman. But this time, he was ready.
Initially, he was very scared that he would wind up helming big budget pictures where you don't get to do what you want to do. So he's now in a position, I think, that he's able to deal with it.
Tim Burton, the misfit little boy from Burbank, has transformed both his dreams and nightmares into movies that have touched a chord with millions and established him as one of Hollywood's most original directors.
I knew he was going to be something big, something unique.
Tim Burton is set as a playground. It's a place to explore.
Anything that Tim directs is going to have this stamp on it. You know it's a Tim Burton film.
He creates this imaginary world, this fantasy world. Tim is a great communicator in an unconventional sense.
So who was the most difficult actor for Tim Burton to work with on Planet of the Apes? Was it that hunky Mark Wahlberg? Or maybe that diva, Helena Bonham Carter? Well, Burton says it was the real monkeys used in the film, whom he described as having an insane psycho quality. But so did Joan Crawford, and she never stopped working. Tomorrow, as Biography Goes 8 Week continues, he's a singer, songwriter, actor, and Rhodes Scholar. And now Chris Christopherson can add defiant human enslaved by the apes to his resume. That's Chris Christopherson, Wednesday. For Biography, I'm Mario Chimp Cantone. Thanks for watching.
Biography, brought to you in part by genealogy.com.
Every family has a story. To discover yours, visit genealogy.com. At genealogy.com, you can find ancestors, build a family tree, and learn more about your family's unique story.
Hey guys, look at this. It says here your great-great-uncles were the Wright brothers.
Who?
The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur. Take a look.
Log on to genealogy.com. Your family story is waiting.
These days, your eyes need nutrition as well as the rest of your body. So Centrum added the nutrient lutein to help maintain your precious sight. So your eyes, your toes, and everything in between are covered by Centrum, a more complete multivitamin than ever.
That roach thinks he's got it made. A mere scamper to the pantry. Only this homeowner called 1-800-Terminex for a convenient solution to the problem within 24 hours. So this roach is toast. Call 1-800-Terminex for a free inspection.
Before they rule the planet, they're taking over Biography. Tim Burton, Helena Bonham Carter, Chris Christopherson, plus Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowell. Biography Goes 8 Week, all this week on A&E.
Typical car insurance agent is on the job during regular business hours. On the other hand, Geico insurance professionals are on the job 24 hours a day. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Oh, I didn't want mail.
You don't have to sacrifice service to save money. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hi, I'm David Orrick. How'd you like to get this $100 cordless iron absolutely free? Call this number now and try my amazingly light, incredibly powerful 8-pound Orrick XL. On your carpets, tiles, and even wood floors, this $100 cordless iron is yours whether you keep the Orrick XL or not. There's nothing to buy. So call 1-800-471-1453. That's 1-800-471-1453. Nothing gets by an Orrick.
Manhunt is over as France extradites an international fugitive, Ira Einhorn, on investigative reports. Next on A&E.
Now you can own the program you've just seen for only $14.95 plus shipping and handling. To order a video cassette, call 1-800-423-1212 or shop online at and.com.